Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Thank you for tuning in to the T&D World Line Life podcast, produced by Endeavor Business Media, a division of Endeavor B2B. My name is Amy Fischbach, and I'm the field editor for T&D World and also the host of the Line Life podcast. Before I dive into today's episode, I invite you to become part of our Line Life podcast community by searching for the Line Life podcast in your favorite podcasting app or going to linelife.podbean.com and clicking follow in the top right. We air interview-style episodes on the first and third Fridays of each month, and also audio stories in our In Case You Missed It series featuring articles that appeared in our print magazine on the second and fourth Fridays of each month. If you have a comment on this episode or a suggestion for a future guest, please reach out to me. You can email me at amyfischbach@gmail.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Lineman World. I'd love to hear from you. Now let's move on to today's episode. Welcome to this episode of the Line Life podcast in our In Case You Missed It series. For this episode, we are featuring the article Life After the Line, and this article was published in our 2025 T&D World Lineworker Supplement. This story was written and is narrated by me, Amy Fischbach. Life After the Line. After working on the line for decades, these retired line workers continue to support the line trade. Every year, a wave of line workers hangs up their hooks and retires from the line trade, opening spots for those trained to fill their work boots. From 2023 to 2033, about 10,700 new power line repairers and installers will be in demand due to the 8% growth rate in employment over the decade, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average age of line workers is 41, which represents 55% of the journeyman line worker population, according to Zippia. While journeyman line workers often retire at 65 years old, many choose to opt for early retirement as young as 55 years old with an actuarially reduced pension if they are vested. For example, Robert Padgett, a first-class lineman, International Lineman Hall of Famer, and owner of Padgett Pole Line, worked for almost 31 years for Lakeland Electric and has no regrets. I actually retired young enough at the age of 55 to go out and do some things that I had not yet had the opportunity to do previously, he said. I took 4 months off before starting my next chapter. After decades of powering their communities, however, many journeyman line workers don't want to leave the line life behind. For example, they may transition into other roles such as consultants, line instructors, small business owners, storm support specialists, or volunteers for the International Linemen's Rodeo Association, or ILRA. Here are the stories of a few of these line workers and how they are still making a difference in the line trade. They reflect on their careers in the industry and talk about how they are continuing to support the line trade. From Florida line worker to business owner. Padgett, a journeyman line worker who joined Lakeland Electric in 1988, came from a background of welding and fabrication. The more he learned about the line trade, the more interested he became in a future career on the line. Lakeland Electric started their own training program that year, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the first apprentices to go through the 4-year program, he said. Early on, he worked for some old-school linemen who were hard on him and even harder to get to know. When he did earn their trust, however, they would take the time to teach him the skills of the line trade. I feel like most linemen are only willing to teach those who are interested in the trade and want to learn, he said. Many of these men I still visit today just to talk of the early part of their careers and hear how it used to be done, especially those about working off the pole. During his career, he said he learned how to perform line work without the use of bucket trucks and specialized machines. We had about 88,000 poles on our system and about 12,000 you couldn't get trucks to, Padgett said. We didn't have any backlot machines then, and I can proudly say to this day I've never worked out of one. I got to do a ton of that work, and we did most of it energized. He said hot boards and hot sticks may be a lost art in some areas of the United States, but they were commonly used at Lakeland Electric as long as he was on the crew. We did some reconductoring of three-phase easements with no outages, as well as many three-phase pole replacements. Good times right there, he said. When he looks back at his career, he said his first storm work was in 1992 for Hurricane Andrew. I have worked many storms since, but none have compared to the amount of devastation we encountered there, he said. There weren't many homes left to run power to. Fast forward to 2004, and Lakeland Electric was hit with 3 hurricanes in 6 weeks, with the last one causing outages to 95,000 of the utility's 105,000 customers. It took 6 weeks for the line crews to restore power to the last customer. Then in 2012, Lakeland Electric's crews traveled to Long Island, New York, following Superstorm Sandy. Many of our linemen had never seen snow, let alone worked in it, and it was quite an experience, he said. Since his so-called retirement, he has worked several more storms in the Big Apple. The way I look at it, the crews come from all over the United States to help us after hurricanes, so it's only right for us to go help them, he said. In the past 6 years, I have worked from the banks of Lake Ontario as far west as Houston, through the swamps of Louisiana, and as far south as Key West. I have nothing but good memories from these journeys. Now as the owner of Padgett Pole Line, he has the opportunity to work on some transmission projects, and he says he has learned a lot. In his current role, he has been fortunate enough to do more backlot work, bare hand work, and some hot stick and helicopter work. One day, however, he was approached and asked if he wanted to share some of the things he had learned with a new generation of line workers. At that point in time, he had not thought much about teaching others about the trade, but he did have experience with training while working at Lakeland Electric. Last year, Padgett had 6 W-2 forms, and he swore he would slow down this year. Instead, he is helping to move the International Linemen's Museum from Shelby, North Carolina to Leesburg, Florida, which has kept him busy. Also on the property will be the Fallen Lineman Organization, which will have a bronze statue to memorialize fallen line workers. It pays tribute to the linemen who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in serving this great trade, he said. The museum displays will begin with the telegraph system and then move into an introduction of the telephone lineman and catenary work. In addition, the museum will honor the U.S. military like the Army Signal Corps and Navy Seabees, who have been instrumental in building power and communication lines to protect troops abroad since World War II. Other items on display will be artifacts and insulators from the Civil War and the mining of copper from the 1800s all the way up to modern-day tools and technologies. This will be a one-of-a-kind experience that recognizes the history of trade like no one ever has, he said. It's really going to be quite an experience when we get it up and running. We welcome those who are interested in the preservation of the trade to contact us and hopefully help with donations, both historically and monetarily. Training the future field workforce. The electric utility industry has come a long way since the first commercial distribution of electric power started in 1882 with electric lighting, said Randy Beckes, a lead instructor at Utilitrain, with 48 years of experience in the line trade. Electric utilities are now experiencing some of the fastest employment growth compared to employment across traditional industry sectors. In 1977, I started my career in the line trade, said Beckes, who started in the trade as a groundsman with Gulf States Utilities in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, before working his way up from an apprentice to a journeyman line worker to safety director. Since that time, there have been many changes, especially within the last few years. With the ever-increasing need for electric service nationwide, the need for qualified line workers has also increased. To ensure the safety of crews, as well as the reduction of injuries in the electric utility industry, Beckes became a line worker trainer in 1988. Over the years, he expanded his skills to include specialized live line training, including hot sticking and rubber gloving. During his career, he has trained thousands of line workers throughout the United States, as well as 39 countries around the world. After recognizing the need for professional training for line workers, he opened a training school for line workers in 2000 in Georgia and then focused on live line training. Then while training AUI Power in Maryland during the summer of 2022, Beckes discovered a need for a lineman school in the Mid-Atlantic region. A few months later, one of the owners of AUI Power responded positively about building a school, and 2 years later, Utilitrain became a reality. In January 2023, Utilitrain was born with the mission of training the next generation of line workers by providing hands-on, real-world training during the 15-week training program. The Utilitrain facility spans 38 acres and includes training simulators, administration offices, student classrooms and break rooms, bucket trucks, digger derrick trucks, and a crane. Field training features a pole circle and single three-phase lines, as well as underground transformers. Students learn how to climb poles, operate a digger derrick and bucket aerial truck, and install line hardware, poles, crossarms, conductors, primary and secondary, and transformers. Beckes said he is honored to share his extensive knowledge and years of experience with the students at Utilitrain. When creating and building the programs here at the school, our team's goal was to help the utility industry by providing quality line workers, Beckes said. I've seen how this invaluable training has changed the lives of so many, and it does my heart good to see the students succeed and prosper as a result of our training. From empowering the U.S. military to volunteering for the ILRA. Rustin Owen hailed from a family of line workers with his father, cousin, and uncle all in the line trade. He completed all of his training in the U.S. military and attended a joint school for the Air Force, Navy, and Army for his initial training. Before retiring from the U.S. Army, he was part of the team that built the U.S. Army Power Line Distribution Course at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. The feeling of accomplishment from building a course that has continued since I left the Army is a great one, he said. Most of his career in the military was working worldwide to provide power to the warfighter from 2003 to 2016. During this time, he was able to respond to many outages and provide power to cool down warfighters in the deserts of the world. He also remembers troubleshooting an underground fault during a mortar attack. The best feeling is always restoring power in times it is knocked out, he said. Working on storms and getting power back to those whose lives were interrupted by power outages is a great feeling. For example, he helped restore power to the island of American Samoa after tsunami. He also responded to an ice storm in Kentucky, which eventually led to flooding due to increasing temperatures. It was a nonstop repair of the same circuits and poles back to back, he recalled. After retiring from the Army, he worked as a safety coordinator for American Electric Power, or AEP, for 6 years, alongside line crews during storms. Today, in his job position with Salisbury, he gets out in the field with line workers to ensure they have what they need as far as tools and safety equipment. In this role, he answers questions about products and how to use them, and educates line workers about standards and testing. This job keeps me connected since I've transitioned out of line work, so I really enjoy the ability to continue to be connected to line workers in the field, he said. Having a way to stay connected has been key as my family has retired from the line trade, but we still have lots of conversations about how things are going for linemen today and how safety has become a lot better. He said while it's been difficult to learn the business side of things and spend time on a computer, he still enjoys getting out, attending events, and visiting crews around the nation. I still watch outages and try to keep up with friends as they go out on storm, Owen said. From 2005 to today, he has also been involved in the International Linemen's Rodeo. While in the U.S. Army, he had the opportunity to compete in the event. And after retiring from the military, he now volunteers on the Safety Conference Committee for the International Linemen's Rodeo Association, or ILRA, and as a first aid and safety coordinator on the rodeo grounds. In his volunteer position, he is responsible for working with a team to build a valuable safety and training conference and organize a safe competition year after year. Every year I attend the rodeo is a memorable one, he said. Being able to continue being part of the ILRA is a huge thing I love, and I'll continue to do it as long as I can. Making friends around the nation and seeing them every year has been one of the most memorable things in my career and what I look forward to many more times in the future. Working storms from the field to management. Rick Owens, distribution operations supervisor for TRC companies, learned about the line trade from a high school friend who told him about his company, Dallas Power and Light. It sounded like an interesting opportunity, he said. Dallas Power and Light provided on-the-job training, and once you have enough experience, you can start climbing poles. From there, he started an apprenticeship program where he learned about climbing, rigging, tool use, line construction, and how electricity works. After completing his internship, he started as a journeyman lineman at Dallas Power and Light, which merged with Texas Power and Light and Tesco to form TXU Electric before being rebranded to Encore Electric. He worked as a lineman for 21 years before taking on a role as a troubleshooter and first responder, where he was responsible for power outages, down lines, or equipment failures. He was then promoted to distribution operations technician, and in this role he oversaw 5 to 7 team members at each service center. He then returned to his roots in Dallas as a supervisor at an Encore Service Center before moving to Waco, Texas as a supervisor over 3 service centers with 35 direct reports. About halfway through his career with Encore, his daughter started working for the same company, and she's climbed the corporate ladder. "I'm very proud of her," he said. As a line worker, some of his most memorable moments were working on home system or off-system storms. After the storm, it's not just the power that's gone. It could be a water, internet, and access to food or medicine. We aren't just turning the lights back on. We're restoring people's livelihoods and helping bring their lives back to normal. That's a part of the job I really enjoyed. For example, when Hurricane Maria slammed into Puerto Rico in September 2017, it wasn't just a storm. It was a full-scale infrastructure collapse, he said. The Category 4 hurricane obliterated the island's aging electric grid, he said. Utility trucks couldn't just roll in from neighboring states. Everything had to be shipped in by sea or flown in. We drove our trucks and gear to Lake Charles, where it was sent by barges, which took over a week to arrive. The remote, mountainous regions were very hard to reach. Power lines were wiped out for miles. It would take over an hour to drive up narrow mountain roads, which was a challenge for our trucks to squeeze by. The line crews encountered several communities that had been without power for 3 months before they arrived. Once we restored power, these mountain communities would tell us their stories, he said. Many of them still use small generators to power schools, but children were reading and writing in the dark for months. Because of the infrastructure, some places hadn't had electricity since the 1980s. The Puerto Ricans are a resilient people. I befriended a man about my age who would come cook for us every day without electricity or anything. He was so proud. Within a few weeks of retiring from Encore in Waco, he discovered opportunities at TRC and began working full-time for them. In his role, he spends his days checking emails, making phone calls, and directing the field team's work to where they are most needed. He is primarily responsible for managing field technicians responsible for helping with broadband expansion. For example, when a company wants to attach fiber cables to a utility pole, his crews measure the pole height and clearances, determine attachment placement, and inspect for integrity. We are basically designing in the field, he said. The line workers use SPIDA systems for pole design and structural analysis to generate reports to determine if the pole needs to be changed out before fiber can be added. Once fiber is attached, the crews go back to ensure everything is working correctly. The biggest transition is the area of safety, he said. Electrocution and bucket trucks used to be my top concern. Today, it's driving conditions, aggressive dogs, distracted traffic, and of course, the most common, slips, trips, and falls. He said the most challenging part of his job is finding new business. I'm not used to being out in the field, he said. Stepping on a trade show floor or knocking on doors is unfamiliar territory for me. He now has 22 direct reports, and his motto is to treat everyone with respect. The favorite part of my job is making sure my team has what they need to succeed, whether that's equipment or proper gear. When I can remove obstacles and get them the right tools, I feel like I'm making a difference. When you take care of the little things for your employees, it gives them a sense of pride in the company. That's when the job really feels meaningful. SMUD supervisor to California consultant. Back in 1984, Max Fuentes' friend asked him if he was interested in becoming a lineman, and he was hired on at the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, or SMUD, as a pre-apprentice. After completing his apprenticeship, he was promoted to a journeyman 4 years later. He now brings a wealth of on-the-job experience to his new role as the owner of Fuentes Consulting, LLC, in Carmichael, California. For example, after working as a journeyman lineman and line foreman, he moved to Idaho to serve as the chief field instructor and vice president of Northwest Lineman College. He then moved back to Sacramento to serve as the president of Trade Tech, a lineman vocational school. In 2002, he returned to SMUD as a journeyman line worker and then was promoted to supervisor of safety and training, supervisor of meter and service crew, supervisor over crew scheduling, and supervisor of asset management. He retired as the Grid Assets Line Supervisor for Business Operations in 2015. In addition to working in the field, he also loved competing at the International Lineman's Rodeo. Case in point, he was a member of a winning team 5 times, with 3 times as a top team in the municipal division and twice as a top team in the contractor division. His team has also won the Hurt Man Rescue twice and various other rubber glove and hot stick events. Since then, he has returned to speak at the Safety and Training Conference about leadership in the line trade during the International Lineman's Rodeo Week. Like the other line workers at the rodeo, he has worked his share of storms. For example, in the winter of 1995, SMUD experienced multiple days of wind and rain, and trees took out a lot of lines, backyard transformers, pole sets, and reconductoring. One of his most memorable weather events, however, was in 1988, when a summer thunderstorm took out about 100 transformers throughout the service area. I worked for 7 days straight for 16 to 24-hour shifts, climbing poles and replacing transformers, he said. Today he has a consulting business and he works with utilities and contractors to teach line construction work methods, write procedures, certify Hurt Man Rescue and rubber glove recertifications, and write investigative reports. He provides a safety meeting curriculum monthly, so he focuses on doing research and development of his plans and presentations. He also conducts research, writes reports, and interacts with lawyers to provide depositions and occasionally testify in trials. This article also included the sidebar, Frontier Beyond the Field, advice for soon-to-be retired line workers. After investing decades in working in the field and working around the clock to keep the lights on, it's often challenging for line workers to downshift into a relaxing retirement. Here are some words of wisdom from those who have exited a full-time job for a utility to discover other opportunities related to line work. Number 1, gain as much knowledge as possible. My advice would be to learn all you can about this awesome trade and make yourself valuable to your organization, said Robert Padgett, owner of Padgett Pole Line. It can propel you into many different opportunities connected to the transmission and distribution industry. Number 2, stay in shape. Don't sit around. Focus on your health so you can enjoy a great retirement, said Maximo Fuentes, owner of Fuentes Consulting LLC, who works out every day. He took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at 57 years old, and he has trained consistently for the last 8 years. I compete and have won several world championships in my age division, said Fuentes, who currently has a brown belt and wants to be promoted to black belt someday. Number 3, start formulating a plan weeks or even months before you retire. There is life after your utility and great opportunities and great companies that would love to have your experience, said Rick Owens, Distribution Operations Supervisor for TRC Companies. Our next article in our In Case You Missed It series will be Prioritizing the Mental Health of First Responders, which will be available in the near future at linelife.podbean.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Line Life Podcast, produced by Endeavor Business Media, a division of Endeavor B2B. Be sure to subscribe or follow the Line Life Podcast in your favorite podcasting app so new episodes will be delivered straight to you. For more insights, you can visit our website at tdworld.com/podcasts or linelife.podbean.com. You can also connect with us by following us on Instagram at Lineman World or on Facebook, LinkedIn, or X. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Line Life Podcast.